Hi, welcome back, ladies and worms. We got I know it's been a while, been very busy. Haven't really had time to do any videos. But we got on the bench today is it's a 97 core that the customer purchased and is going to be rebuilding it. I got to get it apart. See what we're dealing with here as far as how good of a core it is or how crappy of a core, because you never know. It could be totally, worthless. It could be cherry, a mixture of both. You really don't know till you get into it. I did pull the heat shield off just so I could see the exact year, and it is a 97. But let's go ahead and get into the teardown here and see what we got with the unit, what's going on with it. Hopefully the hard parts, primarily all I'm really caring about is the pump is good. Planets, I really don't care. Everything else I have plenty of to be able to replace that for them in the build. Looks like it has a newer color O-ring. So it's probably been into at one point or another, I'm sure. Being a 97, odds are that it has been into before in its life. I mean, not much fluid color to go off of there. Just checking the servo orientation, it is correct. There's some fluid, see what it looks like. I mean, I like it. It's not, it's not black, but I mean, it's not red by any means, but it's not black. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, it's still kind of an oily color. There's really no residue stuck inside of the case here. And instead of checking the servos just by, overall cover play, like when you're assembling it, you want to check everything and you check how much this moves in and out. I think it's like, 50 to 100 thousandths or something like that. I've been using this as just a preemptive tool just to get a good check on it before I really go too much further into tearing it down. It just gives me a good baseline, and I'll make a note of what it is. I mean, the band's probably got wear on it and things like that, but this is a good tool to use to see kind of where you're at. You still want to do something like this, make your own custom little tool, like drilling a hole in the cover, checking pin travel. You can do things like that. I mean, you actually get the tool and then check with the 98 inch-pounds. All right. So when you're using the tool, it is 98 inch-pounds. I'm gonna try and rotate this so you can get a better view of it here. And my torque wrench, my snap-on one broke. Snap-on guys had it for a hot minute. Said he would only have it for like a couple days, but it's been a lot longer than that to get it repaired. So I had to go to the backup, and it's close. This wrench is like plus or minus 4, so I mean, it'll get me kind of close. But if you look here, right there, I'm at 98. Let's see if I can zoom in. Try and center it for you. Actually, let me try and come straight down on top of it so you can see it a little better. But it's just another measurement to check. I mean, it's just, it's like anything else. It's just another tool at your disposal. Try and center it so you can see where it's in the center of the window. It's a little bit past the center. So, I mean, the pin is probably, if I had to guess, that's right at about 100 thousandths, right in the center, right about there. So it's probably more, we'll see, it's slipped off the cover. You got to watch that too, like where the snap ring is so corroded. in the case. See how it's trying to pull it out? So you want to rotate the tool a little bit so it doesn't get into that part of it. So it's kind of on the, if I had to guess, I'd say it's like 100, 125, and I'll check when I'm going back together with it. You know, I will check with the cover and everything. I'll check the total travel plus my pin measurement. I usually grab a longer pin and grind on it till I get, like, depending on the build, that does depend too on what it's going to be used for. Like something real high performance, a lot of power, like a turbo, supercharger, something like that. You know, you're going to want like 55, maybe 60 total travel on the servo pin. You know, you want a little tighter on some of the high performance stuff. So put this stuff back away. We'll get back to tearing it down, reset the camera. It's just a standard, you know, 2-groove pin, you know, and I'll run something like a, you know, I don't have any no grooves, but you have like a 1-groove that's shorter. Then you have like a 2-groove that's had a bit added on to it. And if you look at the overall lengths of them, let me line up the ass ends of them here. So there's one that's a 1-groove, then there's a 2-groove with an extended, and then a 2-groove non-extended. You can kind of see the difference there, and that does, you know, that's what you're trying to achieve with the band pin travel with these. So, all right, let me set this back up. Good, but it is what it is. Get some better light on it there. All right, let's continue onward. There's speedo. Little speed sensor out of here. Yeah, so I mean, it's not, use the light up here, it'll be a little better. So, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of contamination, which, you know, that's not bad, really. It is magnetic. You know, if I saw a bunch all around the pickup, you know, indicate the planet being destroyed, things like that. Our extension housing off here. It's cold today, man. It's only like 35 degrees outside. Yeah, I mean, the fluid color, like I said, is not red, not great looking, but it's not all burnt to shit black. Total nuked. So that's a plus. Grab our pump bolts out of here. You can leave the lockup O-ring on these. It doesn't interfere with the stator tube coming off of these. There comes the fluid. Let's see what we got. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty dark. But when you spread it, it's not that bad looking, really. So hopefully it's a pretty good, viable core. All right. Let's turn a little better. This is for like a, I think it's an LS swap. I can't remember exactly. I know it's a older vehicle. I have all the paperwork up front. But they had a turbo 350 in it, and the gear was all wrong, all kinds of stuff was all messed up, and the 350 was not cutting it for what he wanted to do. So I mean, yeah, the pan looks really decent. We got some chunky stuff, but these little pieces here, hopefully that's more something that like fell into the pan or the fill tube. Magnets not totally covered. It's a decent amount, but nothing crazy. Filter's flowing good still. No big metal particulate stuck in the filter. There's some metal sitting on it here. And that's right over top of the EPC, and AFL is right where all this debris capture, where it's been venting in and out of there. So, and a lot of times I've seen on these, the AFLs, it's like more and more lately, I guess because they're higher mileage. I mean, they're only holding like 10-pound vacuum, if that. It's like, so I've been replacing AFL valves with oversized ones, like, you know, it's my job because it is. But I've been seeing a lot more of those lately, where the AFLs have been bad. The drain going there, a little piece of goo stuck in it. All right. Let's see, where's my pick? Get these solenoids all disconnected. I mean, it looks like a factory harness, factory solenoids. Yeah, they're, so if it was rebuilt, you know, typical, you know, just not replaced. These are probably replaced. A lot of times you only see the shift solenoids replaced. I guess people doing it on the cheap, I guess. Let's see, I gotta get, yeah, see, something like this comes in real handy for the clips where you don't want to hurt the aluminum. You can come in, just twist it, get the hook on it. Sometimes you gotta break them free because they're so stuck in place like that. Just twist it and push it up and down a little. That'll free it up, and then get your hook in there and just pull up on it, make sure, because this works great, because otherwise if you use a pick, a straight pick, it comes in, it mars the surface, or if you do the backside, then when it'll shoot off of there. So it's a good way to kind of hang on to them. Yeah, it's definitely original. All right. Let's see. Get our lockup solenoid, your 210s. Get those out of the way. A little jiggle jiggle. It's got the inline filter. Another way you can kind of see if it maybe had a lockup issue, if there's any contaminant in that, which there's none. Alright. I'm just going to leave it oriented like this. Normally I would turn it this way, but it's a little bit better. The check balls are going to go flying and things like that, and I really don't care, because I'm not concerned with how it was really, because I'm going to fix it all myself. So it's the standard, you know, 97 style flat accumulator, where it's flat here, the shorter outer spring, and the accumulator with the feet on it, and this one is metal. All right, let's see, trying to get this out of the way there. Let me grab these 8s first. And remember, you always have the 3/8 in this little L pattern, or whatever you want to call it. But there's one in between the two shift solenoids, one by the accumulator valve, or the 1-2 shift, and then the other one right by the EPC. It's just you have to put the 8s right here. I mean, you could technically put them in other spots, but if you put it here, it'll lock the shell. Here, it'll lock the shell. I'm not sure if it'll hit the drum here, just because they're longer. Because if you look, I'll grab one of them, and I'll grab one of the 10s. See, because the 8's a little bit longer, and it's just enough to fit through the case and lock the shell, or even worse if you inadvertently use one of those that are a lot longer for the manifold pressure switch. Anyway, let me grab these 8s. Always twist it. It looks original because the GM ones and the AC Delcos are like this, where it's exposed. The roster ones will have this black cover over it. Well, actually, no, that's wrong. The newer GMs has a white piece of plastic over this. The aftermarket ones have no plastic white covering here. The roster ones it's all sealed, like you can't see anything other than the diaphragms on the rosters. And I'll use the rosters or the GM, preferably the GM ones, but try to avoid all the aftermarket. Just never had good luck with them. And it's really not that much more money savings, really. And you're taking a gamble. Try and peel it up slow. Maybe the check balls won't roll, but they probably, there they go. At least one of them took off flying. Check ball is stuck in the plate. That's common for second. Actually, 2 are missing. One of them made it off the table. Didn't see where the other one went, but for second apply is stuck in the plate there. Very common. And when you see that, you're going to have a glazed band or a destroyed band, and then once the band lets loose, then the 3/4 clutch stack they'll still apply for fourth, but it just tries to carry the load. But you can see how that check ball's stuck in there. Now, it's not totally stuck, but the hole is definitely all wallered out. But I always put a new plate on every build anyway, so I mean, again, that's a moot point for me as well as far as how good the plate looks. Let's see. I'll take a peek here and see if anybody pinned the valve. No. Just checking any valves hung. They seem all nice and free. Let me check here. Yeah, that's good, good. 2-3 shift. That's nice and free too. Let's grab the forward accumulator out of the valve body. And it's plastic. We will update it to a Sonnax pinless. Actually, all the accumulators, I use a Sonnax pinless on them. I mean, the valve body looks really nice. I mean, just looking at the surface of it, you know, a lot of times you'll see a lot of unevenness on them if you really know what to look for, if you're looking real close. This one looks really nice. Blue spring, normal. It's usually blue or purple or white. It's kind of stuck in there. Normal. It's your 3/4 accumulator. Then you got the other check ball in the case. And I won't find out where that other one went to till I flip it. I'm done with the air gun. Get that out of the way. Oh no, I gotta get that still. I gotta get the park pull rod like actuator out. This is 2 13s. Get that out of the way. gotta get the linkage the rest of the way apart too. A lot of people don't take these apart either. And you might see why, if this one cooperates or not. It's just got a 15 holding that nut in. Get this harness out of the way. I'll move the camera a little closer. It's just a 30 millimeter socket. They make a tool for it too, but if you got a 30 millimeter, there you go. If you plan on reusing the harness, that way you won't break it. All right, let me move this so you can see it a little better. Make sure it's, here, I can move this closer. So you have just that 15 millimeter in there. So wiggle this a little loose. And you got this clip. It keeps the rooster comb from moving too much, really. And you gotta watch, this will take off on you too. Just get that out of there. Now here's where the trick is, where it can become a problem, is whenever the nut is tightened so tight, the flat part of the rooster comb mushrooms out the step of the shifter rod. It feels, there might be a little lip there. So what I'll do, just to kind of, and it still might bite me. I mean, it just depends. You never know till you get into them. You just take a file and try and just knock off any little high spot on the edge of that there, and spin it, get the other side where it's flat, and then grab a hold of the nut so it doesn't fall out. And yeah, see, it's stopping as soon as I get to that. See how I can't pull it out anymore? So it's either the whole thing has a little mushroomed out edge on it, and then when you rake it through or try to tap it out, which I still might have to do that, you might have to dress up the aluminum bore of where this rod fits through the case. And the same thing happens too on this side whenever you have your neutrals, your MLPS, or not your MLPS, your Prindle switch. It shrooms out here, and then when you go to pull it out, you end up tearing the inside out of the Prindle switch. And see, I got that burr off of it enough to where I can pull it out really easy by hand. I mean, if you don't do that, you literally will have to pry that out with everything you got to get that out. But it's just taking that little edge off right around there where it shrooms it out. Then you can easily get the rest of all your stuff out. And then the seal that like no one changes, just come with a flat blade and pry it out. That way you can change your link, because they love to leak out of here. These generally tend to not leak as much just because of the height of it, of how high it is away from the fluid, but they still can leak. And if you're rebuilding it, I mean, you know, you really should replace it, to be honest. But there'll be guys that don't do that just because it's time consuming, I guess. I don't know. But it's not, as you saw, it's not that hard. I didn't damage the case, the bore for the shaft, or any of that stuff. Now hopefully when this unit was put back together, the pump was aligned correctly. Otherwise, this can be where you got to get the tool out instead of just, so it was lined up good. So let's move this out of the way. Let's check our pump. Let me move this down a little. Alright, I'll move a little closer so we can see. Get your 513 mils out of there. Now I'm done with the gun. They got the right gasket on it. Pump washer is on my drum. Pump washer looks really good. No discoloration, meaning low heat or no high heat. It's stuck to this. What you're checking for, I mean, the bushing is obviously hurt pretty bad. But you're checking the surfaces here, your valves, your lockup, your boost, pressure regulator. You can't really vacuum test any of this till it's all dry, but you can give a quick inspection inside the stator tube. Make sure it's not gouged. It's gonna need a new bushing. It gets all new bushings all around. You gotta watch here, it can flatten out this and create a real sharp edge on the rear of the stator. The journals look okay. Inside the tube looks good. The body itself, let me wipe it down a little. Since I got gloves on, it's sometimes best to just take a pick. Let me move this other light. You just want to take a pick, and you'll feel it with the pick if there's anything. That's just shadowing for the most part. My pick's not getting anything on it. It's real nice and smooth. So I mean, the stator looks in decent shape. And then, you know, you just check the valves. They're not stuck. That's all you can really check at this moment till you clean everything. Kind of a weird little casting blob in there, like a flash or something on the aluminum. You see that? Really strange looking. And you see people post online a lot like, is this okay? Is this bad? I mean, yeah, there's nothing wrong. It's just a weird casting flaw. It doesn't really attribute to anything. And then the pump gear itself. Let's see the rotor. Well, that got a little hot. Let me just get all these out of here. This one's a 13 vane. And the vanes, people have asked on some of the videos, if you're gonna reuse them, I don't, right? But if you are gonna reuse the vanes, you know, normally you have your one ring that goes down in there like that. Then the plastic guide on the back of the rotor goes down like this, and then your other ring centers the vanes on the top side. But the indexing, you know, the vane, you can't put the vanes in like this. You know, it's too long. The vanes, you know, you go this way, vertical, with the, you know, the tallest part vertical. But if you look really close, you could run into a problem with this, because if you're reusing them, they've been in here wiping this certain direction for many, many years, and they do have a little bit of an indent on them, and it could affect pump pressure. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick it up, but if you see the flat side, this edge, versus this one, see if it picks it up, you can see the two index marks there. I can kind of see them on the phone. You see those two? That's telling you that's the rings, the top and bottom ring. So you wouldn't want to put this back in like this with the old part out with the rings, because it's already been wiping that way. You'd want it keyed back in the same direction. So just look at that real close, and you'll see your vanes where they do have that little witness mark with the two little like hashes on the edges of it, on the top and bottom of it. But I mean, they're cheap. They're like 13 cents a piece, up to like $1 a piece, so depending on where you get them. And they do come in a pump kit, so, and the pump kit's gonna have both rings, the guide, the rotor, the slide as well. But you gotta watch whatever you get online. They might have their own custom kit that doesn't have everything in it, but it should have it in it. It's a double spring. The slide is definitely worn out. You can see how the vanes really honestly need replaced just by looking at how damaged the slide is. Let's see if my pick can feel any of it. Yeah, see, my pick is not catching on any of that. It's just total, well, there it is right there. No, yes, yes, no. So I mean, you can just tell by briefly looking at it without even feeling it, due to how it looks, that slide definitely needs change, because it should be like that. See the outer color of the metal, like right here, that part of the slide, that's what the inside where those veins ride should look like. It should be that color with a slight polish to it once the veins are in it and the pump's running, but it still has that really dark color. You can see where this got discolored and heated. More than likely torque converter clutch was heating up, or we had a depth problem. Let's see, you can look at the witness mark on where the pump gear was in, because when it's sitting in the pump like this, so the converter comes through this side, so the converter comes through where the guide is, and you can see the witnessing mark on the inside of the gear there to show you how deep the converter was into the gear. Let's see if I can get this to show you. Move this light a little bit better. You can see how the black and the shiny part, that shiny part is where, that's all the further the converter was sitting in there. So you still had, I mean, technically you can run it about an eighth, only an eighth draw out. Some guys will run them a 16th. That's too tight for me because you have converter flex, crank thrust, and things like that. I'd like to go 3/16. So I mean, you could actually have went in about that much further. Sorry, I had to watch on the camera. You could go in about that much further, getting the converter further deep into it. That way the pump gear is truly centered and it doesn't have any chance of wobbling. Because if you do look around it, you'll see where it's a little bit thinner there. It gets thicker the closer it gets to that lug, and it's thicker at that lug. Then that's still pretty thick, even thicker, real thick, a little thicker, and then it starts to thin out just a little bit. You can kind of see it where it gets a little thin on that shadowing there. So I mean, yeah, that's why it's very important setting the converter correctly. The pivot pin feels good. If you ever can catch your nail on this, replace it. It will affect pump pressure. You'll get a new one of the rings that goes on the bottom of the slide too, on a pump kit. Then the pump pocket, it's gonna hopefully be okay. Let's see. Drop my pick here. Yeah, it feels really good. Let's look at the converter bushing. I mean, the bushing looks not that bad, but I mean, it's going to get a new bushing. The pump's in good shape. So it just needs bushings, you know, probably a drop-in PR valve, definitely a 0.500 transgo boost valve, and then vacuum test or whatnot, whatever your build is going to be like. All right, let me move this back. Couldn't see what I did there. All I did was I popped the band off of the anchor pin in the case. And you just come in here like this and just pry the band down to get it off the anchor. And sometimes the anchors are really stuck in there. This one's not. You gotta watch on the anchors too. If there's any weird lip on this anchor pin, it won't set and hold the band exactly right, and you can break the band. But once you get that off, you should be able to just grab this and pull both the reverse input drum out and the input drum at the same time like that. And you can just rotate your band out of the case. Set this aside. We'll go through these drums real quick. Let's see where the camera's at here. So I mean, the drum looks really good. Again, I don't reuse these ever. I just don't. I'll put a brand new drum in it, and I will use a wide alto Red Eagle band instead of a stock band. But I mean, you would want to check this for flatness across here. You would do it by putting a straight edge and a light behind it to look and see if you see any daylight through it. You probably will, even a little on this one. Even though the drum looks decent, The band looks okay. It's just slightly discolored, slight cracking, nothing really that bad. But I just don't run those, because the problem is if it's deviated a little and you run a wider band, I mean, I could show you. I got one sitting, a used one. You see how the band sits on there, and if it's narrow down inside of here, more in the center line, which is where they'll get narrow, it'll dip in the middle, versus, you know, you run this is a Raybestos Pro Series band that has a burn mark on it. But if you run a wide band on a non-truly flat drum, then like they did with this band, and if you look at the clamping area of it, it pretty much engulfs the entire drum. So when you're lower here, it can't really grab there. It's going to try and grab at its highest point around the outer edges of the band, which this band did do. I don't know how well it's going to pick it up, but you can see a slight burn starting to occur on this band. This was only in a unit for 100 miles, and it already started to burn this. That's why you never want to run. I mean, imagine if this ended up going another like 10,000 miles, this band would be totally finished. Technically, you could reuse this band, but I don't like this one. I don't like the material on this one. I like the Red Eagles is what I use. But that's why you should, you know, if you're doing a budget build, sure, you could probably just scuff this up, put your, you know, a Borg Warner band on or some cheap aftermarket stock width band, and as long as there's no massive dip here, it should last a while. But if it's got anything, I would say more than like, say, 10 thousandths, if you put a straight edge across this, and if you can fit 10 thousandths under this dip, don't even bother, because it'll smoke it really quick. All right, let's get the reverse input clutches out of here. You got your conical spring steel, dish steel. And they're Borg Warners. They look really good condition. The steels look in very good condition. But I won't reuse them. I might save some of the steels to use as maybe a spacer or something like that, but I won't ever use them on a build, like just using just all the steels. Always separate them and clean everything though. There's no real wear inside here where the stator tube goes for the pump. Another thing to watch, this one I didn't feel it, but is down in the drum where the steel's right up and down on these lugs. This one would need a drum anyway, even if the drum was perfect. If you look at where, I don't know how well it's going to pick up, where the steel lug is, where there's a cut starting to form right there. Let me see if I can find it. Usually happens in like 5 spots because of how the plate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teeth, and this is the plate that causes it, is the beveled. So it'll start cutting in 5 spots into the drum, which it started to do there too. You can see where it's starting to cut at the base of that lug tower. So that steel plate has to get over that little hump when it's applying like this. So when the clutch builds pressure, the clutch pack has already started to apply, so the frictions are starting to grab, and then it locks. This is still trying to come up and continue to depress this, and it'll get caught momentarily. It'll force its way past it, but this is what will cause like a delayed reverse engagement. It's because it is the reverse input clutch. You put it in reverse, it applies it, and it hangs there for a second or two. The worse it gets, it can eventually cut it all the way through, and then it causes a complete failure of the plates. But just off of that alone, where it's cut like this, you should not run that drum. Go grab the piston out of it. I got my press off camera over here. It's just not close to the bench. It's right behind it. Just got to get your snap ring off. Alright. Then do yourself a favor with your retainers and your snap rings. Just take it and hook it through like that. So that way when you're washing it, you won't lose it. You could leave that like that. Lip seals are still soft, not cut. So, you know, I'll reuse the piston in my new drum. And then onto the 3/4s. Very important to not take it apart yet. And you want to do, now this, you can only do this when it's cold for right now. You'd be good to heat it as well. Heat it up to, like, you know, about 300 degrees or so, and then do this same test to confirm on the heat expansion if it's going to leak. And you have to back, now I've seen people do this where they'll apply pressure here instead of through the relief valve. That's not pressurizing it correctly to show you the leak. To get it to show you the leak correctly, you need to come in on the back side of the piston, which would be here. And then this is the pain in the ass part, especially with gloves. You have to block the 3/4 feed and then the small orifice in the drum right down in here. And then if we see bubbles coming out of the fluid, then that tells you the shaft is compromised where it meets the housing. And it's hard to keep it sealed with gloves on. I'm just looking straight down. I don't see any bubbles. I am hitting it with a lot of air, like 180. Oh. I think I saw one. A real small single bubble. Let's try it again. See if it comes back. I don't see any bubbles coming out. I thought I saw one there for a second, but I didn't. I think it was off of the, where it was rotating the bubbles around in the fluid. All right. Get your bearing out of here. Get your spacer. This is where you adjust your topside end play. Is with this shim I'm getting out of here, or trying to at least. They all have not all of them. Most of them have numbers on them. This one is a 68. And I just do my own custom stack up. You know, I'll use 15,000 shims, 10,000 shims, combination of those. It just depends on where I'm setting my end play. Well, the 3/4 clutches look like they're in really good shape. There's really not much really wrong with them, at least looks like to me. Let me move this over here. Slide some of this down so you can see what I'm doing. I mean, they look like they're in really good shape. I would say that's about maybe 65,000, 70. I mean, they're a little loose. I mean, I like to run them 35 to 45. They're definitely not totally smoke showed. Yeah, I mean, they're really good shape. So it should be a pretty decent core, really. Get your anti-drag springs out of here. You only ever want to remove those if it's like a high performance build, and it's gonna be like a high revving setup. You do not want those out when it's like a stock type build. Yeah, those don't look too bad at all, really. Then we got our forward clutch. Gap looks pretty decent. Looks like it's about 40 to 50, which is good. Get your bearing out of there. Got your wavy steel and your overrun plate, overrun spacer. Usually just dump them over. It'll all be out. So it's just it's an aluminum pistons. I'd expect to see that. The 3/4 should be molded. Let me go grab that off of there, get the spring out of it. All right. So yeah, it's got the 2 aluminum pistons. I will update it to molded. And again, and you have to change this. It has to have the later style when you're running the steel piston instead of the aluminum. You can reuse the snap ring. Snap ring's the same. But due to the dimples here, and the molded one doesn't have that. Yeah, there's our molded 3/4. Gets a new one of those. 3/4 apply ring. You gotta watch this too, where it gets all beat up from where it hits onto the 3/4 apply plate with the feet. And what'll happen is, let me get it on there. Over time, where this is hitting this over and over, this one's not that bad. But you'll start getting, let me get the light over here. You'll start getting like an edge buildup right in there, like right here. It starts building up an edge that you really should come in and file that edge off. It'll start bending it in like this. It'll bend it that way. It starts bending it over. That one's a little bit. See if I can. If you look at it, see how it's all beat up? It has that little sharp edge to it. You'd want to come in and take that, get that off of there. You can do it on a grinding wheel, file, whatever. But it can kind of cause this to not apply. It'll cause your 3/4 apply plate, which needs to be perfectly flat, to not be flat. It'll apply funny. Alright. I'm going to check inside of here for any wear, around here for any grooving, around the inside lip. It's just real dirty. It feels really good. Your bearing. Let's go over the plates. We didn't go over the rest of them. And we had our overrun. Looks really good. Then you have your overrun spacer plate, the forward wavy plate, your first forward flat steel that should be 90 thousandths. You see a little uneven wear on it. And if the teeth are knurled, which they are, on the forward frictions, I'll show you here in a second, what you can expect to see is usually just a telltale sign of a worn out sprag. You can see how the teeth are kind of chewed and gone versus the top one is not. Well, it's a little bit chewed up on that one too, but you can definitely see the tooth size difference. See how they're a little chewed up on this one? And if you run your finger across this one, you'll feel where the teeth are bent over on the edges. That's a telltale sign that this sprag has started to fail or slip under load, is what it is. And this is the input sprag. The hub looks good, nice and flat. You gotta watch this for getting all chewed up right in here. So someone was into it because it does not have the gold sprag in it. It's just a single cage aftermarket sprag. So someone was into it because this should have been gold, and even though they replaced it, it still was getting sprag chatter, causing those teeth to get deformed on the forward plates. So yeah, it's getting the Borg-Warner dual cage for sure. You got to check your race for any wear, your inner and your outer. Looks really good. Don't see anything wrong with that. Get our steels out of the way. Alright, there's not too much left really. Just the planets and the shell and the low and reverse. And I'll just rotate it till I see the groove of the snap ring. Like right there. See if I can get my hands wiped off. If I can zoom in on it. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going with these curved tips. If I can do this in front of the camera, let's see. As long as they put it in right, which they might not have. Otherwise the snap ring plier just keeps slipping off. There. Because it is directional. Let me zoom out again. Because if you look at it, it's in like that. You'll see the tapers towards the top, so my pliers didn't slip off of it. If I ended up coming in on the other side down here, since the taper is going that way and this way, these would have just kept slipping off. You still can get it, and it really doesn't matter which way you put this on. It's irrelevant. Just for when you're taking it apart, it can be a pain in the ass when it's not on the right way. I'm just gonna snag everything real quick, and I'll go over what I took out of there. See if it's pivoted at all. Sometimes the center support doesn't want to come out because of the clunk spring. It's past it. I just got to give it a little pop. Maybe not. There it is. I'll restack it all on the bench to show you the order. That's when I get this all out of the way, so I can get the case out of our way here. I might be able to get let me dump some of this fluid real quick. I don't know if I'll be able to do the piston on its side or not. There it is, okay. I'll try it. That way you can see it on camera. It's gonna take me a second to get this tool in here. Once I get it started, I'll show you. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Let's see. So I can come right in on the side there. Let me move this. Move this down. Maybe. And so I just got my pliers under the snap ring groove and just expand them. I don't think my tool's tight enough. There, and it came out. Just reach in and grab your snap ring, undo your tool. Sometimes the spring gets cockeyed in there, like there, and then it's straightened up. Get the spring out of the way, then hit the back of the case. Air pressure pops it out. Reach in, get your piston out of there. Get the case out of the way. Come on, get out of there. Alright. Get this reset back up here. I'll go through the rest of it. Zoom out. Alright. Got our snap ring, our spring retainer for low and reverse. Alright, our piston. Try and get some of this fluid out of here. Something about having a nice teardown table that's metal, because the fluid just keeps coming and coming, man. Alright, so how we had it in the unit. It's your rear bearing, your rear ring gear, your rear planet, your sun gear, and we had our clutches, which I'm going to leave them out. And you have your center support, and you had your shell, and then we had our input planet set. That's how it was down in the case. Let's look at our reverse, low and reverse first. You have your wavy steel, your first, flat steel. They look pretty decent. I don't really see much damage to them. I mean, they're all really nice looking. All right. The case piston, you got to watch these. A lot of guys, when they're installing them, they'll take like a, I've seen people do this a lot. They'll take like an extension like this, and it's done, you're installing it, right? And then they'll come in like this and hit around here with a hammer. You can use this, but don't ever hit it here. If you're gonna have to hit it up high around this edge here to tap it in. You don't even have to tap them in. If you have this tool and you lube the case correctly and you lube these rings correctly, you just put your spring in, you put your tool in, the pressure from this tool will seat this piston without you having to hammer this in any way. So sometimes you can even push this in by hand if you get enough of a really good, like use Slick 50 and Transgel and some transmission fluid and a slurry. It's crazy slick, and you can literally push these in by hand. But I see that a lot, and when you're hitting on it here, you can actually crack the piston, which I have seen that happen. But let's check our lip seals. They should be soft because the clutches were good. That one's good. If I can get my pick under it. That one's soft too. That one's good. I mean, it gets new ones. It's just, you know, checking them to see if they're hurt. You know, and a lot of guys will ask too that if it's any good, like they'll look at this part. Let's see if I have any weird casting marks on it. Because all you really need to concern yourself with is around this surface where it's real shiny, around this surface, and around this surface. You know, the rest of it, like here, who cares? I mean, it could technically even be cracked there, and it would still be able to, you know, you'll lose pressure in between, but it's like, you know, you don't want any cracks in it. But like, you'll see this casting mark. Let me get my light. If you see it there, see how it's like a flash casting, like right in here? There's nothing wrong with that. That's all perfectly normal. It's a really good piston, even like around down here. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Nothing wrong with that. That's just whenever they made this piece, it's just how it was made, because it's a casting. Just watch where the rings are, the surfaces for the rings. That's what you want to make sure is nice and smooth and clean. All right, then we had our sun gear. Where did that go? Oh, here it is. You have your sun gear. That's your input sun gear. Bushings are worn out. You know, normal. Watch your splines. You know, check the in here where the output shaft is. I gotta hold it up to a light to see it. They look good. I mean, I need something more of a like a white color to see, for you to be able to see the splines on it. They look good. And you want to check for any type of play like this, what we call like side wobble of the gear. And of course, you know, if you see any chipping, strip splines, you know, if you saw chipping on this gear, you're going to see a chip somewhere in here. Look real close at the way the mesh is of the gear, how it fits through. You know, if you have like a I've seen on some of these where they'll get like a real sharp jagged edge to it, and that should be replaced because it eventually will wear inside of here. But you want to mainly check for your side wobble first, check for your journal wear here, any grooving where it rides in the bushing, and then the captured bearing. How I check them is I just put my input sun gear in it, and I push down real hard when I'm rotated. You'll feel if it has any bad spots when you're doing this, and it doesn't. I mean, if you got, usually the bearing's intact until you know, it goes out here, and then this will be all grindy. So the input planet feels good. Then you have the input reaction carrier hub and ring gear, and the bearing. That bearing sits on top of that planet like that, down in here, into this pocket like this. You check for lateral movement. There is some. You want to check this surface, which is the sun gear bushing for the rear that rides here. You can see the shadowing where it's been, you know, it's not grooved. It's real smooth still. But a wide Sonnax bushing would actually go to about from here, right above that feed hole, to about there, instead of this narrow bushing. I mean, it too needs both bushings. The splines look good. It has a little slop that way, and more than likely should be replaced, but you got to get it apart to really look at it to see. You just got to get the snap ring out of here. Sorry, my arm's in the way here. I know you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just getting that snap ring out. I know it will come out. And what causes it, let's see if I can see it. It's very minimal where, move this light. Let's see. Change this so it's the other side. If you look, you can see the cut in the side loading. See that little deviation all along each one of those splines? You can see where it just has a little tiny notch cut in it right there. That's what's causing, because this metal is softer than this metal where it's splined to, and this metal ends up cutting this out. You're supposed to, anytime you see any wear on this at all, you should really change this. And 9 times out of 10, it's messed up right here on the bushing wear. But I mean, this is actually in really good shape. But for this particular build, I'm not running a washer style. So I'll save this for maybe a budget build for somebody that is using a washer style. Instead of having to charge them, you know, $100 for this new, you know, I can maybe sell this one for like 40 bucks, because there's really, it's got plenty of life left in it. But for this high performance build that I'm doing with this unit, I don't want to run anything with any wear like that at all, with any wear really. Anything that has any wear on the metal on a hard part, I will replace it, period. So reaction carrier hub needs replaced. Input planet's good. Input sun gear's good. It's getting a Sonnax smart shell, so relevant, and most of the shells always need replaced anyway. This one's starting to cut. A real common issue that you might miss is if you see there's a cut starting to happen right there. The splines look good. Nothing really wrong with the splines, but there is a cut starting to occur only on that one side. Now there it's starting, I can see the shadow again. It's because of the gear. It starts rocking around inside of here, and it starts cutting this, and this will just shear off. You'll lose reverse, second, and fourth, because that's these lugs tie to the 2/4 band drum. So there's your second and fourth apply. You'll just have third and first, and that's it, and no reverse. So it's getting a new shell. Like I said, it's getting a Sonnax smart shell. And then the sun gear, there's that real narrow bushing I was talking about. You know, it's going to get an updated Sonnax wide bushing. Again, check the teeth, check the splines. And you can also, if you want to pre-lube this low planet, you can cut a notch here and here, just cut like an X across it, and just make sure it's really flat. You know, don't leave any burrs on it. If you come through and cut a little notch out, you know, you don't want to cut into the gear tit. You want to cut in at the angle, like right there, and then cut in that way, and so on and so forth. You could make, you know, as many cuts as you want, really, as long as it's flat. But I usually just do 4 across. That helps any lube oil come off of this gear down into that bearing right here that loves to fail on these 4L60E rear planets. But the gear looks good. The center support, it has the old style sprag, which it'll get replaced with a Borg Warner updated sprag. I mean, this is just an original, probably OG, or could be an aftermarket. You know, it's not falling apart. You know, if you shake them like this and the springs come, or the rollers come out, you know, if I was shaking it, all of a sudden it, you know, went like that without touching it with my finger, then that would tell you 100% it has to be replaced. But I do know this is an old style sprag. I can see the wear from the roller there. And it, you know, again, I mean, it's going to get all new sprags. The race looks good. It just needs polished, a new crosshatch to it. The center support, really rare to see wear on these, but people that like to go from reverse to drive without coming to a stop, you will see a ramp mark in here that'll wear this support out sometimes. If I had one to show you, I would. I just gotta wipe this, see if we see anything. Because it'll be the whole center support will be. Yeah, see that? That's normal shadowing with that single line right there. See the little single line? That's where the roller was resting, basically. When you'll see little marring dimples in it. And if you see those, that's from people that, like I said, don't come to a complete stop from going backwards and throw it into drive and so on and so forth. It'll eventually wear that out. It's real rare, but because usually this fails first. It usually doesn't keep working well enough to damage the support, but it can happen over time. Then your rear planet, you got your bearing, your captured bearing. Check the captured bearing first. Take your sun gear, push down, feels smooth. Tells me the bearing's good, but we got to check for any, again, side wobble of the planetary gear. And if I feel any on this, and I mean any, it will get a new one. And it actually feels really tight. It hasn't been welded, so it wasn't rebuilt by, well, some people weld them, not everybody. It feels really good. So I'm not stressing on the planet. You know, and again, I got to clean it in the hot tank, you know, and I might find something too, where one of these rollers, when you're spinning it, you'll feel it in your hand and hear it, which will tell you the damage to the pin. But I mean, so far it looks okay. You got your rear bearing, your output hub and output ring gear. Again, you can check in the teeth, and this is normal. A lot of people see this online too, and they say, is this bad, is this good? Let me wipe it off, the oil, so you can see it better. You can see the bluing to it, right? That's not a flaw. It's made this way. This is what holds park for the vehicle. This is a hardened piece of steel, and it's been treated in such a way that it gives it that color. Now, this will turn black when like that planet explodes. These teeth will all be missing. Sometimes it'll just shear this off here, but that color, the way that looks like that kind of looks like I held a torch to it type of color, is normal. So I mean, don't freak out when you see that. And these two pins too, people ask about this too, and it's something they do at the factory, I'm assuming, when they're building them on the line. But these two little stakes where they took a punch, it's probably to hold the output shaft in temporarily for them while they're assembling. I'm guessing, I really don't know, but you can see where they The output shaft is put in here, and then this is punched in to kind of stake it in place. And then lastly is the output shaft. You want to check all your journals on it. I mean, it just, doesn't look very bad. It just needs polished up. The reluctor wheel even looks good. The spline where the snap ring was. You gotta watch that. That can happen sometimes too when there's excessive end play on this back end. This size of this gap will increase over time, and that should signify that you have a problem with your end play, which is there's a couple ways you can adjust it, right? So it's in the unit like this, and you got the shell, and you got your hub, and you got your ring gear, and you got your other planet, right? Now you have a bearing, same as the output one. That bearing that sits on here, because when this is all together like this, when it's all stacked up and the shaft's in it, you can take that bearing and put a shim under this bearing here that'll move this, which is going to change where it locks onto the snap ring of the shaft. A lot of times that's one way you can address it. Another way to address the rear end play is actually on the back side of it, is right in here. How this goes down into the case, you have that same bearing that's sitting here. You can put a shim under this bearing against here, which will, you can watch this that'll change partially here. You don't see it here on this. When you see this move, like if you go on a Sonnax and it tells you to check your end play in the rear, and you change that, and you add that spacer to the bearing under this planet, it's gonna change this gap right in here. That's what'll change. But you can also, like I said, you can take a shim here, put it on all the way up onto here, and then your bearing, you will be also kind of pulling this up a little bit for this part. You can see there in the shadowing of it, see where it was sitting. So you can you'll move this a little further out of the case bushing and everything further up the unit. Generally, when you put the one here, you do end up putting the one here, and it tightens it up to, I think it's usually like 10 thousandths. But unless it's something really high performance, you shouldn't really have to mess with that. You shouldn't have to change your rear end play like that. You always have to check your front end play, especially if you're changing your shell. Like if you're changing to a monster or a smart shell, or anything that's not an original replacement that's identical to what was in the transmission, then 9 times out of 10, you are going to have to change that shim that's here on this input drum when you're stacking it back up. A lot of times I'll see them with 50, 60 thousandths end play or higher. Some with no end play when they come in, like literally it doesn't even exist. And it's all because they used the wrong, they changed hard parts, which is good, but then they didn't, update their end play, which kind of can cause a lot of problems. So you gotta watch that. So yeah, it looks like a really decent core for me to build for this person on this hypo build. I just gotta get all the parts on order. Probably get them in a couple days. Let's see, we need that. This is staying. Just get everything prepped for the cleaner. Excuse me. Anything in the case I should go over? Damn. No, I mean, it looks really clean. Looks really good. I'm surprised the unit was pulled. I don't really see why it would not have been functioning in a vehicle, like why it became a core. I mean, the 3/4s were slightly worn, but not enough to not engage. Wouldn't have been from that. Band wasn't hurt. All the clutches were in decent shape. I'm not sure. Kind of an odd one. But then again, you know, who cares really? I got it, bought it as a core. What do I care? Doesn't really matter. It's gonna fill its purpose here very shortly. All right. My phone keeps twisting. Sorry about that. It's a little janky mount. But anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll try to post more. I just been very, very, very busy as of late. I just got to get this all finish the quote out for this customer, and then I got to wrap up a 204R for a guy, and he's coming to get it in a couple days. But yeah, I appreciate everybody. Thanks for watching, and check back soon. I'll try and get more videos up when I get some time. But thanks everybody.